They say love is built over time, layer by layer, like a home made of memories, but all it takes is one impulsive night, one fleeting thrill, one moment of weakness, to shatter something that took years to grow. Temporary desires don't. Not before they enter, they just ruin everything you thought was safe. Welcome to Broken Truth, where love meets lies, and every story reveals the pain behind the smile. People often betray not because they stop loving, but because they start chasing what feels new. Temporary desires, be it physical attraction, attention from someone else, or a craving to feel alive again, can cloud judgment and make them forget the depth of what they already have. The mind tricks them into believing that the temporary is more exciting than the permanent. But when the high fades, the damage is already done. They don't leave because something is missing. They leave because they're not ready to handle something so real. She used to count the stars at night, not because she believed in wishes, but because each one reminded her of a moment they shared: quiet car rides, soft laughter in the kitchen, promises whispered against the skin. Their love wasn't loud. It didn't burn like wildfire. It glowed steady, familiar, warm. It was the kind of love people spend lifetimes searching for and still miss. But sometimes what's steady is mistaken for stagnant. Sometimes familiarity becomes invisible. And that's where it began to end. He didn't leave with a storm. He left with silence. It wasn't a fight. It wasn't a breakdown. It was a shift, a slow dimming of eyes that used to light up when they met hers, a phone that rang less, a hug that lingered shorter. She noticed, but she didn't panic. She thought love, like life, had seasons, that maybe they were in a quiet winter. And spring would return if they just stayed. But spring came for him elsewhere, in the form of someone new, a stranger with a new laugh, a new scent, a new story. And she, who had memorized his scars and his favorite coffee and the way his voice cracked when he lied, she became the background music to his escape. He didn't cheat because he stopped loving her. He cheated because he wanted to feel something new. And that truth is sharper than hate, because at least hate is a feeling. This was emptiness. This was a hunger for chaos disguised as passion. He mistook the thrill of unfamiliarity for love. And she paid the price for his restlessness. She found out the way no one deserves to, by accident, a forgotten message, a scent that wasn't hers on his shirt, a lie too rehearsed, and when confronted, he didn't even deny it. He just looked away, as if eye contact might set the truth on fire. She didn't scream, she didn't beg. She just sat there, staring at the version of him she never thought she'd meet, a version capable of erasing years with one careless decision. A version who could touch someone else while still wearing the bracelet she gave him. The night he left, he didn't take much, just a few clothes and the excitement of something new. But he left her with everything that hurt, the weight of memories, the echo of laughter that no longer belonged to them, the cold side of the bed, and worse, the questions, not just why, but was any of it ever real? She walked through their apartment like a ghost, touching picture frames that no longer smiled, opening drawers that smelled like him, playing songs they once danced to in the kitchen. Grief wasn't loud. It was in the little things and unfinished. Book they were reading together, a grocery list she'd never complete, his coffee mug still in the sink. People told her to move on, that he didn't deserve her tears, but they didn't know. They didn't see how he once looked at her like. She was home. They didn't feel the way he held her when the world felt too heavy. They only saw the ending. She lived through the story. And maybe that's what hurt the most, not the betrayal itself, but how easily he walked away from something she thought was forever, like it was nothing, like she was nothing she replayed. Everything, every moment, every sign she missed, every instinct she silenced. She remembered the time he came home late and said he was just tired. The time he turned his phone over too quickly. The growing distance between their bodies in bed. She had felt it, but she trusted him. And maybe that was her real mistake, because trust isn't just about believing someone won't hurt you, it's believing they could but won't. And he did. Days turned into weeks. The world moved on, but she stayed stuck, somewhere between rage and remembrance, between mourning him and mourning herself, the version of her that believed. And him without hesitation, she stopped writing. She stopped playing her favorite songs. Even coffee didn't taste the same, because everything reminded her of a life that didn't exist anymore. And yet, the heart, even when broken, still beats, slowly, painfully. She started choosing herself in small ways, buying flowers for her own table, letting sunlight in through windows she once kept shut, smiling at strangers, even when it felt fake. Healing didn't look like strength, it looked like survival. She still missed him, not who he became, but who he was. The man who once kissed her forehead like it meant something, but she no longer waited for him to return, because even if he did, he was no longer the person she loved. He traded something permanent for something passing, and that was a choice, not a mistake, a choice. And she made a new one, to stay with herself, to rebuild, to stop romanticizing someone who couldn't hold the weight of real love. To stop blaming herself for his weakness. She once gave her heart like a gift. Next time, she'd give it like a flame, warm but protected, because love shouldn't be about saving someone. It should be about meeting them whole, and she was learning how to become whole again. She didn't speak much in the weeks that followed, not because she had nothing to say, but because everything inside her felt too loud to put into words. It was the kind of silence that doesn't calm you, but holds you hostage. The kind where the world keeps spinning, but you feel pinned to a moment that won't let go. But even silence has a limit. One morning, the sun fell just right on her pillow. Soft, golden, undeservedly gentle, and something shifted, not healed, not forgotten. Just shifted. She sat up, not with purpose, but with quiet acceptance. That this, the absence, the ache, the disappointment wasn't going to vanish overnight. But maybe it didn't have to in order for her to begin again. She made tea instead of coffee. She changed the sheets. She played a song with no memories attached to it. These were not victories. These were small choices. But they mattered because for the first time in weeks, she did something not for the sake of moving on, but for herself. For a while, she still caught herself looking at the door, expecting a text, waking from dreams where he still held her hand. Healing isn't a straight road. It circles. It's remembering and forgetting over and over until the memory stops controlling you. She began writing again, not about him, about herself. She wrote letters she'd never send. She wrote the things she never got to say. She wrote apologies to her own heart for silencing it when it knew the truth before her mind did. Slowly, she stopped asking what she did wrong. That question had been her prison. And one evening, sitting by the window with dusk painting her walls orange and pink, the answer came gently. He didn't leave because she lacked anything. He left because he couldn't handle everything she was. Some people don't want soft love. They want chaos that reflects their own confusion. And when they meet someone who loves them calmly, they mistake it for boredom. She had loved with both hands, open palms, no games, and he didn't know what to do with that kind of honesty. So he ran toward noise and left silence behind, and from that silence, she began rebuilding. She started learning about boundaries. Not walls, just quiet lines drawn in sand that say, "This is what I won't tolerate again." She looked back, not to hurt herself, but to understand that the things she once called passion were sometimes just red flags waving in disguise. That attention isn't the same as affection. That fast doesn't mean forever. She let go of the version of her that would have taken him back. That girl, the one who would have forgiven just to feel close again, she was gone now. In her place stood someone slower to trust. But deeper in self-respect, she didn't become bitter. She didn't stop believing in love. She just stopped believing it looked like suffering. There were days she still missed him, or maybe just the dream of him, but she stopped letting that ache mean something was wrong with her. Some loves leave not because they weren't real, but because they weren't ready. And readiness isn't something you can wait someone into. She redefined what love meant to her. It didn't mean clinging. It didn't mean proving. It didn't mean fixing someone. Love now meant peace, safety, a love that doesn't just arrive, but stays. And if it never came again, she'd still be okay, because she found it in herself first. One evening, months later, she passed him on the street. He smiled, awkward, regret in his eyes. She smiled back, not out of anger, not out of longing. Just peace. He had become a chapter, not the whole book, and she was still writing, and this time the story was hers. Not all who leave you are villains, but not all who leave deserve a way back in. Sometimes the most powerful healing is not revenge or forgetting, but understanding. If this story found a quiet corner of your heart, don't forget to subscribe. This is Broken Truth, where we don't avoid the pain. We speak it.